All right, guys, welcome back to the Daniel Cormier Show. Today's episode is brought to you by Total Wireless, the official wireless provider of UFC. Hey, they're in your corner with unlimited 5G data that will not slow you down. Now that's a total power move. Today, I am joined by one of the most polarizing figures in all of mixed martial arts. Hey, he's a former interim champion, a guy who's been in some of the biggest fights the welterweight division has ever seen, and someone who has never been afraid to speak his mind. So whether you love him or you hate him, you always get Colby Covington. And when you talk about rivalries in this sport, his name's right up there. He had wars with Kamaru Usman, personal rivalry with Jorge Masvidal, in a career that's been as much about moments as it has been about his results. But now we're at a different point. He's coming off of some tough losses, so questions about what's next and whether he still wants to chase that belt, or maybe the game's changed for Colby. We'll find out today. We'll get into all of it. His career, the rivalries, the persona, the reality of where he stands right now. Today, I am joined by the one and only Colby Chaos Covington. Colby, thank you, my man, for joining me. I appreciate it. Hey, you know when I come to Miami, I had to kind of tap in with you. I was like, man, if I'm in Miami, let me hit Colby up, man. Thanks for doing this. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place.
Beautiful city, man. Always good climate here. You know, the weather's good, so you know, you can have that active lifestyle like we like to have, you know, like we like to stay active and, you know, compete in many different sports. I know you're a big avid golfer, so it's a great state to live. If you
I'm playing
play
on Friday. I'm playing on Friday. I'm getting out there on Friday. I'm playing at, it's a beautiful place. Turnberry Isles.
Nice.
Yeah, Turnberry Isles. Yeah, that's the thing though, man. Once you get to a certain point in your life, you want to be at somewhere nice. You know, I want to be on a nice course, not just some random course. We're going to get into your childhood a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to get into Colby Covington versus the gimmick. I think a lot of people miss who you really are. But my first question is, like, how much of what people see is you versus what you want them to see?
You know, I think a majority of it's me, you know. It's, you know, I understood what the assignment was being called and asked upon me in the UFC, you know, like you need to generate hype. You need to get people interested to want to watch you fight. You know, I don't want them to turn the channel to Real Housewives of Miami. I want them to stay tuned on Colby Covington, DC, and the UFC. You know, that was important. So I just understood what the assignment was. And, you know, I stopped caring what people thought of me. For a long time, I kind of cared what people thought of me. But then I was like, you know what? The real friends are they're going to judge me for who I am, and they know who I am behind the scenes. And when it's time to do business, you know, this is show business. You know, it's just as important to be a showman as it is to be a winner in the fight game. So, you know, some of these fighters that have made the biggest paychecks in the history of the sport, they weren't the greatest fighter. They weren't in the list of the greatest fighters of all time, but they generated crazy hype, and that's how you make money in this sport.
So how hard was it for you from a kid that's a wrestler? Because the one thing that we fear the most when we leave wrestling and coming into MMA is getting booed. Yeah. That is literally like you lay at night going, man, there'll be a lot of people in there. I hope I don't get booed. How hard was it for you to kind of accept, man, if I go down this path, there's going to be some boos?
Yeah. You know, I felt it first when I went to Brazil for my second UFC fight, and they were screaming, "You vai morrer," which means you will die, and booing me. And I was like, it sucked. But like after, I was like, man, that kind of brought a different character and a different dog out of me that made me want to like prove them wrong and shut them up. So like I started to enjoy the boo. I almost wanted to attract the boos more than I wanted the cheers. I didn't want people to like me. I wanted people to hate me, but I wanted them to tune in to see me get knocked out or lose. But I knew that I was going to work hard, and that wasn't going to happen.
You know, I remember I was with you and Demian Maia at Brazil. That was one of the craziest moments of all time. But what do you think people misunderstand the most, right? Like what do you think people misunderstand to the point that people want to fight you on the streets and all that? What do you think is most misunderstood about Colby Covington?
Just you know, people, you know, they don't know how to leave the business when it's the business, you know. You know, when we're in the UFC, it's promotion, it's hype, it's selling yourself, you know, and trying to market yourself and promote yourselves in different ways. People don't know how to turn that light switch off when it's time to be a regular human on the streets, you know. So I just think that people get so upset with the way I've handled and conducted my business that they can not let that resentment and that hate come out even when we're in real life and just being regular people, you know. They want to bring that with them, like, oh, you said this at the press conference, you said, you know, some stupid shit, you know, and they just want to keep hating me over that. But, you know, I'm not here to tell these people I'm a good person, you know. That's up to them to decide.
Yeah. Do you feel like good, right? Because at the end of the day, I love professional wrestling. It's always been my thing. I'm going to WrestleMania very soon.
Amazing.
I'm going to WrestleMania very, very recently, or coming up. And the one thing they have to have is emotion. If you can draw an emotion, whether it's negative or whether it's positive, it makes you know that people are invested in you. I went through a part of my career where people just hated me. But then I realized, oh my God, they're not indifferent. They can't be indifferent.
Yes.
We see there are 700 people on the roster right now. 675 of them, people have an indifferent type of approach to them. And ultimately, that doesn't lead to anything. And I believe when people understand that, it makes it much easier to operate in this world. But then you have the nickname Chaos, right? Colby Covington. In wrestling, there's not much chaos. When did that come to you, chaos? And is that a part of you? Is that another part of you that you said, this is me in fighting, chaos?
Yeah.
And I'm Colby on the other side.
Yeah, it's just, that's what I realized, that there has to be that light switch where you got to become chaos. You got to become, that larger than life person, if you want to really make it in this sport, in this career. And, I think when the light switch really flipped, Daniel, is when my buddy Bobby Lashley invited me to do a stint on TNA Impact.
Yeah.
And I went to do this stint for like 2 weeks, and I just started seeing these guys shooting promos and like playing the heel, playing the good guy and like the baby face. And I was just like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing. Like, yeah, they're creating this character, so to speak, on the camera, but like off the camera, they're just regular, gentle people. So,
yeah.
They're doing what they can to get people interested and to draw money and eyes to the sport. So, the light switch flipped, and I just didn't care who liked me and who was going to judge me. I just wanted to make money and get the biggest and best fights possible in the UFC.
And you got that. And ultimately, it led to exactly what you wanted. Colby, we got to go back to the very beginning. You were born in Clovis, but you moved to Oregon, right? And lived there for your whole childhood?
Yeah, my whole childhood pretty much was in Oregon.
Yeah. I watched, as I'm doing my research on you, I see your dad wrestled, right? And he starts pushing you into this sport. But at a very young age, you thought, I want to be a fighter. I want to be a wrestler. But that came from bullying. Why is bullying such a big part of so many professional fighters' lives, especially in their youth?
I think because it just carries this anger and this frustration when you're a little kid and you got bullied, that you don't ever want someone to be able to bully you and be able to alpha you. The anger and frustration you have as a kid, people bullying you, picking on you, making you look stupid in front of the whole school or whole class, it just makes you want to rise up and train hard and never allow a man to be able to do that to you. So, I just... when I was a kid, I was a smaller side. I was 100 pounds soaking wet my freshman year in high school.
Oh.
So I was small,
Yeah,
people
you were a tiny
me
dude.
Yeah. People were pushing me in lockers, giving me wedgies, like pulling my underwear over my... Yeah, I swear.
Really?
Yeah.
In Oregon?
In Oregon. And like, even when I went to like high school wrestling practice, like the seniors dragging me around the mat, when they were cleaning the mat, and there'd be like still water from the chemicals in the mat.
Why?
Just because I was like, they knew they could pick on me. I was 100 pounds, I was a little shrimp. Everybody knew I was an easy target. And I wasn't like that good at wrestling yet as a freshman. I didn't have any success, was the JV, wasn't even the varsity athlete. So, I think getting picked on over and over, it made me want to train harder. I started practicing 2-3 times a day. I started eating my diet. Everything I put in my body was about getting the most out of myself so I could be the best athlete possible. And I just started visualizing that one day there would not be a man on earth that would be able to pick on me anymore.
When you think back to those times, because that's something that I do, right? Because I dealt with a lot of that myself. And I still remember the guy that would give me the hardest time. But I think back to those moments, and I remember feeling almost... Wrestling was supposed to be like this safe space for you.
Yeah.
But then they could have almost ran you out of that. Was there ever anxiety going back into the room like, oh, I don't want to go to school today. They're going to fuck with me. They're going to do shit to me. Was there ever that for you when you... And can you even put yourself back into that when you're like a 14, 15-year-old kid, that mindset of that fear, right? Because we live now in life with no fear.
Yeah.
But imagine like do you ever think back then and go, man, I was really kind of like a little bit of a broken kid?
Absolutely. I remember, coming home from wrestling practice and just telling my mom I don't want to do it anymore. I love the sport, but I don't want to be picked on anymore. We see how the hazing is these days on the college campuses. It was almost worse back then.
It was way worse.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that was going on back then compared to now.
Yeah.
50% of the guys that made it to the NFL or Olympic teams and all these things, they would have never gotten there because of all the shit they did behind the scenes.
Yeah, and there was no repercussions. It's completely different now. You do things like this, you're going to get the police called on you, and it's a big deal. So, back then it was just it was kill or be killed. And it was eat or don't eat. But it was a tough environment, and I had no choice but to get tough. And I definitely wanted to quit many times. My mom and dad said, no, you got to keep showing up and just overcome it.
You speak about your father. He wrestled. But you also talk about times where it's you and your mom and your sister. When did that, do you remember the transition from California to Oregon to your parents not being together anymore? Do you remember that?
I do. I remember being, in my diapers 3-4 years old, and, my dad wasn't around, and, I know he was off wrestling and trying to chase his dreams, and he was in college and he had some things going on, but, it was my mom who had to shoulder the load to take care of me. She had to work 3 jobs. She called me the Nukie Berry because she was working in a nuclear power plant to put food on the table so we could have a roof over our head. And I just remember she was the only one that was in my life. She was my mom, my dad, and my provider. And, it wasn't until I was 7 years old until my dad came into my life and was like, hey, I want to get back together. I want to try and mend this family and make it a happy family again and give you the best opportunity to succeed in life. So,
and that's when he put wrestling on you?
And that's when he put wrestling on me. And he was seeing the early UFC fights. He's like, look at this Ken Shamrock, the best wrestlers or the best fighters are the guys that wrestle, that can take down the fight and control them and be able to dictate wherever the fight goes. So, it was kind of him that gave me that idea, like, hey, become a good wrestler and you could become a good UFC fighter.
You know what was very telling? When you said you would come home from high school and still say to your mom, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. My mom meant everything to me. She was the best. I was a fat little boy, and I would make my muscle, and she'd be like, oh, he's so strong. Look at him. So she made me feel like I was a superhero.
Yeah.
Right? Moms are the best. Do you think that in those moments where you saw her doing all those things, you gained strength and go, man, this is the shit that matters, right? Like, she was willing to go above and beyond and really do, a nuclear power plant to give you guys an opportunity to live. Like, how important was seeing that for Colby Covington?
Yeah, I think that was, monumental. It was one of the most important things I could see, that she was going from the nuclear power plant. She'd come home, she was delivering mail, and then her third job was she was cleaning houses, and seeing that work ethic, and she was never around. She was always, working so she could put food on the table for us and have a roof over our head. To see that strength and that work ethic, it really instilled it in me, and it gave me no other choice. Like, your mom can do this. She's a woman, and she's a powerful, strong woman. You need to rise up and be a man and be an alpha and take control of your future and your destiny.
And when your dad starts to coach you and train you in wrestling, is he hard? Was he a hard dad?
He was a very hard dad.
Colby,
you know how wrestling dads are.
Dude, but guess what though? Kobe,
Yeah.
I haven't been hard on my son.
Okay.
I was hard when he was super young.
Yeah.
And then I peeled back. I was like, it's too long. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
But now he's 15, he's gonna be a freshman.
Okay.
Now I'm insanely hard on him, and now he's looking at me like, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah.
He was hard though?
Yeah, he was very hard. He was.
How long? From when you started at 7, at what point does he start to really press you?
Dude, honestly, I could remember when I was 8 and it was going to be my birthday, and I had a state tournament, a freestyle state tournament the following day, and my dad made me skip my birthday, and the celebration that I had planned with all my friends, he's like, you're not going to eat cake, you're going to lose 5 pounds, and you're going to make this weight tomorrow, and you're going to wrestle.
Really?
Yeah, and it was extremely hard. Went to my mom, no, I don't want to wrestle, I want to just be a kid, enjoy my birthday, but looking back on it, it was the best example I could have had.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you, because I coach kids, and there are some certain dads can be very hard on their kids, but at times it kind of bothers their relationship. Yeah. And down the line, the relationship suffers a little bit for it. When did it change for you, where it was like, God, I can't stand my dad, to now I understand why he did the things that he did? There's a guy that has 2 sons that play football right now. He's a running back for the Detroit Lions. John, whatever the Detroit Lions running back is, the dad's insane.
Okay.
At what point did you go, man, all that, it sucked. I missed my damn birthday. I didn't hang out with my friends. But then you understood those things led you to becoming a guy that became an All-American twice, a guy that became a UFC champion. A lot of those lessons were learned in that wrestling room. So it's hard to balance the push versus the love of a father. Like, at what point did you realize it was good?
I think I realized it was good, like going into college, because I started seeing like the opportunities it afforded me. You know, otherwise I would have never been able to go to college unless I got a wrestling scholarship. So I started getting these scholarship offers, and I started seeing like, wow, all this hard work is starting to pay off. Now I can go to college and, you know, chase my dreams and have all these great opportunities ahead of me. So, you know, definitely in college. In high school, I definitely hated him. I was like, this guy's too hard on me, man.
Yeah.
Why can't he just let me, you know, be a kid and enjoy life? But like, he was tough and he was structured, and like, that's what gave me the mindset to chase my dreams and be fearless in pursuit of what I want in life.
Did you ever go back and say thank you?
You know, I don't think I had said actual thank you, but I think I say thank you by, you know, doing other things, you know, being able to help out, you know, being able to, you know, reach a high level of success in business. That I think that's the thank you, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not
And
gonna
mom
go,
too?
And mom too, yeah. I bought her a nice house in Tennessee, and, you know, she's able to live a good life now and, you know, not work as much. And, you know, very, very thankful for my parents. You know, I know without them, I would be nothing.
When you're signing the papers on that house, right? Because I did that for my mother before she passed.
Yeah.
I think as I'm signing, right? Because I'm in San Francisco and I'm buying this house in Louisiana because she would not leave our hometown. And you're buying this thing cash, right? You're going in there with all this money to write a check for a house for your mom. Yeah. And I just think back to every time we would drive our little station wagon to someone's house to clean it, to when she would put us all in the car and drive us to vacations in Houston, Texas, because we never got on flights. I didn't get on an airplane till I flew to the World Championships when I was on the Cadet World Team. I had never been on an airplane.
Wow.
I was thinking about all that. Were you thinking about that? Like, look at what my mom had to go through.
Yeah.
For me to be where I am today. And then when you did, if you did, what did that mean to you?
Honestly, it meant everything. You know, I would reflect on when we were kids, and, you know, all she could afford is a 2-bedroom apartment for herself, and I had to share a room with my older sister. And, you know, I reflected on that. I didn't really ever have shoes on. I don't remember ever having shoes on. I was always wearing barefoot and stubbing my toe. Yeah,
That's how you get. That's how you get faster.
There
You think
go.
when you can't really afford shoes, you run without them, and you go, "Man, I run faster with no shoes."
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, it just, you know, it definitely made me want to reflect on the past and where we came from, and now the position we're in, where I'm able to do these things. It's the most rewarding thing. You know, it's so much more humbling to be able to give back to your parents who gave us everything, because we wouldn't be anything without our parents, you know, paving the way for us.
That's crazy, man, because I think that's a part of you that people don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't think you have allowed for people to know that part of you. And I think when you do, you can understand why it matters so much to you to make this thing successful.
Yeah.
Because I got to be honest, man, a lot of guys, they should attribute some of their success to you also. Because of the spotlight that you were able to put on some of the rivalries that we are about to talk about as we get into this interview. But you leave there and you go wrestle college. You become a 2-time All-American. Now it's time to make a decision. Do I chase this Olympic dream, or do I go into fighting? How quickly did you realize fighting was going to be the path?
I realized it my junior year. I didn't even want to go back for senior year, because junior year I'd been training with Chael, helping him out for the Anderson Silva fight. And I was up at Team Quest with him like every weekend, you know, training with him and Matt Lindland and all those guys up at Team Quest. And he was like already telling me like the direction, where to go with the future, and just like how you can make such a good career out of this. And the wheels started turning. I was like, dude, I don't want to go back my senior year. And I was telling my parents I was going to drop out my senior year. They're like, absolutely not.
Get your degree.
Get your degree, finish up. It's 1 year left. You can go after that. You'll get tougher that senior year, get some more competition. You're going to go to school. Like, I had to they had to convince me, because I was like set on it. I was like, no, I'm going. Like, I've talked to Chael. I know the route. I know what I can do to change my life and change my financial future. But they were tough. They said, nope, you're going back. So, of course, you know, I got to listen to my parents. I went back. I stuck it out. And then as soon as I got done, like the Olympic Training Center, they'd sent me like an email. Hey, if you want to come out, we'll pay for your room and board. You know, you could try and chase the Olympic ladder, but I was already set on it. You know, I was already reaching out to a couple of MMA gyms, and then, you know, American Top Team gave me the offer. They said, hey, we're going to pay for your housing. We're going to pay for your food money. Just come out here and train full time. And I was like, for a broke college student, that was the greatest gift I ever got.
Because you're broke and you got debt.
Yes,
I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Those student loans will kill you.
They kill you, yeah.
Every time. And it seems like you're in a mountain of stuff that you'll never get out of when you get out of college and you got student loans of $70,000. You're like, how am I going to make $70,000 to pay this shit off?
Yep.
So you go fighting. You know, when you move to American Top Team, you immediately meet Jorge Masvidal, right? He's a teammate of yours. And you guys have this great team of guys that are training. Little did you know, or did any of us know, that at some point that will become one of the biggest rivalries of your entire career. But before that, you were just Colby Covington, the kid that wrestled. Yeah. There was no chaos. When did you realize that, like, can you specifically point, because I saw something where you said in the Demian Maia fight, you knew, man, if I don't do something more, I'm going to probably get cut from this thing, even though I'm winning. When did you realize that this ain't going to be enough, me just winning fights? You had to kind of save your career. So, like, what was the pressure like going into that Demian Maia fight?
I realized it after I fought the number 6 guy in the world, Dong Hum Kim, and I went to Singapore to fight him. And I just saw, like, how Sean Shelby was treating me, like, after the fight. He's like, oh, yeah, you know, maybe we'll get you someone in the rankings, maybe not. You know, he didn't really have, like, a plan for me. And I'm just like, dude, I'm like 8-1, 9-1 in the UFC. Like, how am I not getting, like, a crazy contract and big fights, you know, and number 1 contender fights, championship fights? Like, what's the direction? So I knew. I was like, going after that fight, I started talking mad smack. I was like, Damian, I'm going to come drop my nuts on your head right in your hometown of Sao Paulo, Brazil. All you Brazilians are filthy animals, and Brazil's a dump. And I knew going into that fight I had to do something different, you know, otherwise I was going to lose my job. And it's crazy because, like, my manager at the time, Dan Lambert, he didn't tell me that, like, he talked to Sean. Sean said, no matter what Colby does in the Demian Maia fight, we're not re-signing him. He's not interesting. He's not, like, an exciting fighter. He doesn't sell money, so we're not going to re-sign to a contract. So I was like, it's just crazy because, like, I never knew that, but, like, I had a gut intuition. Like, it was like God telling me, like, bro, you need to do something. You need to do something drastic. Otherwise, you're not going to be making money in the sport, and you're going to be going and working a basic job again.
They want to do that. You cannot go back to working a basic job after you do this shit because the rush of the fight is too good.
Yes.
It's too much. The rush of walking out of the cage and going into the octagon. Yeah. But I was in there in that octagon. And at the time, I didn't realize you had moved from Clovis so early. I go, hey, they might love this guy in Clovis, California, even though you hate him out here. Give it up for Colby Covington. I still, to this day, Colby, have not heard a place boo louder than that. And I was in an arena with 61,000 people when Israel Adesanya beat Robert Whittaker.
Yeah. And
it was louder than that in Sao Paulo that night. And then you go back to the hotel and they're trying to kill you?
Trying to kill me, man. All the favela gang members showed up and they were trying to kill me. They had to have the Secret Service of Brazil, like, escort me out, like, put a hoodie on, hat, keep my eyes down, and get on the next flight out right away.
Were you thinking, like, oh my God, I might have went too far?
Yeah, I was thinking I went too far when the next fight, UFC tried to put me back in Rio for a title fight with RDA, and then they found out I had a $50,000 bounty on my head, so they moved the whole show from Rio UFC all the way to Chicago, Illinois for that fight, for that title fight, on like 3 or 4 weeks' notice. That's when I knew it was serious. I was like, oh, fuck, they got a bounty on my head in that country? They want me dead?
Yeah, that's bad. Like, shit, I didn't really want to do that much.
No.
But then you go and you beat RDA and you become the interim champion. That I'm pretty certain you got treated differently by everyone at that point. How good did that feel? To really switch the narrative, right? Because you went from a guy, I'm cutting him regardless, to now, this dude's the interim champ. You go from you go from maybe not having a job to all of a sudden you're in a title fight and you're the interim champion. Like, could you even wrap your mind around it?
I couldn't, honestly. It just, everything was going downhill so fastly. All the things were starting to fall into place. You know, President Trump had called me right afterwards and was like, hey, I want to bring you to the Oval Office. And, you know, I want you to deliver this belt to the Oval Office in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And Dana White was showing me respect. Hunter Campbell starts calling me. He's like, hey, you're just going to deal with me from now on. You want fights? We're going to talk about your business. Like you're not going to talk to the matchmakers anymore. I'm going to handle this business with you, and we're going to separate which fights are going to happen. So I was just like, what? Hunter Campbell's calling me now? Like he's the face that runs the place of this organization, and now I have his personal line, and like he's treating me like a manager, like who I'm representing myself now. It just everything started to fall into place. I started to get respect, and people started to notice me. Every fighter knew me in the company. A lot of them hated me, but they still knew me. And that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted people to know me. I just wanted people to care. Whether they hated me or loved me didn't matter. I just wanted them to care and be interested and want to watch me fight. And if I did that, then I did my job, and I did what I stood out to do.
Yeah. And so then you get Kamaru Usman to notice you. He hated you. Yeah. This was not just a fighting. This was not just fighting. This was a real life rivalry, for sure. Right? What do you remember about that time in your life?
Oh man, it was a fun time. I just remember, really just enjoying the process. It was so fun to like be in a title fight, like in the highest level in the world, like in a cage, like doing the UFC. It was a dream come true. At that point, I was officially living the American dream. I was my own boss. No one could tell me what to do. I showed up when I wanted to show up. I woke up when I wanted. I dictated the terms of the way my future was going to go. And I remember loving it, and, it was a fun rivalry. There always needs to be a good guy, bad guy in every story. And storylines better than anybody with WWE. So I'm just happy that I created some history and made big fights and made him a ton of money. Even though I hated him, and we don't have a friendship or anything.
Did you guys really start to dislike each other down when it was happening?
Oh yeah,
you couldn't stand him.
I couldn't stand him at all. I just thought he was just very fake and arrogant, and like it's one thing to like think you're the shit and like believe in yourself, but it's another thing to like how you treat others, and like if you really have an ego. Like I don't like people that have egos, and I think he has a little bit of an ego. He thinks his shit don't stink. And I just, I think we should all be humble people, because at the end of the day, we're all going to go to the same place, maybe some people different places than others. But, I think that, we got to serve a purpose down here and make a big impact and, just be good children of God.
When you guys got into that first fight, it was crazy. And then the New York fight was crazy. It was like you had like such great fights, but ultimately you fell a little bit short in those fights. How did you deal with, God dang, man, I was very close. Because, again, I say you and I share a lot of things in common. We also were both All-Americans, but didn't quite get over the hump and get a national championship. Yeah. And then it's like you get in these fights with these guys. Obviously, Jon Jones is a guy that I had the same type of emotions for. It was very difficult for me to get back on the horse, to get back going in the right direction. Obviously, I was lucky, right? Because he was just a screw-up, and he would get himself in trouble. Then I would get to just fight for the belt that he wasn't there anymore. But how difficult was it for you to bounce back after Kamaru's fights? And like, man, I still want to be the champ. Because to me, it's about proving I'm the best in the world. Yeah. On that night against RDA, you felt like the best in the world. Yeah. But after you lose that fight, obviously that's not the case.
Yeah, the first fight, there was a lot of controversies.
It was very close.
It was very close. It was clearly an early stoppage. I was in on a double leg, intelligently defending myself with my hand, and he's hitting me in the back of the head for the last 4 or 5 shots, and I'm putting my hand behind the back, and then I'm reaching out on a double leg, and Mark Goddard just stops it. I mean, it's one of the worst stoppages in UFC history. Oh no, it doesn't haunt me because the consolation prize, I made a lot of money. You know, and I have a great life. And I'm set for life, financially. I don't ever have to do anything ever again if I don't want to, but that competitive drive won't let me stop. So it doesn't haunt me. It's just, I'm so happy that I made it to that point, Daniel. Like, no one ever thought I was going to be here. No one thought I'd be in college. No one thought I'd be an All-American. They definitely never thought I'd get to the UFC and make it to the top of the world, at the top or echelon of the world. But it doesn't haunt me. Everything happens for a reason. I feel like everything is God's plan. I trust his plan. I know that he has the plan for me, and, I need to be able to rise above it. Don't let losses define who I am as a person, because then, that shows what your character is. And I want to show that, you can rise up and you can come back stronger, and every loss is just a chance to learn. So I learned from it. I realized there was a lot of controversy in that first fight. I kicked him in the liver like it was above the belt line. He called the nut shot. He got a 5-minute break. Mm-hmm. That changes momentum. We know how momentum works in sports. The second fight in Madison Square Garden, it was 3-2, but a lot of people thought I won 3-2.
It was a very close fight.
Very close.
Very close fight.
He had one round that he really won. The rest of the fight, I thought I won. So it's up to the eyes of the viewers, you know. And I think the viewers, you know, they showed a lot of love for me, and they showed that, hey, a lot of people voiced their support, saying, hey, Colby thought they thought I won the fight. So like that gave me some satisfaction. That let me feel like, hey, my hard work paid off, and like maybe I didn't win that night and get that undisputed title, but a lot of people thought I was the undisputed champ, and that's what's most important.
Yeah. Then you get to Jorge Masvidal, a guy that you were roommates with initially. Were you guys roommates in the gym or roommates in an apartment?
We had an apartment together. Yeah, we had an apartment together for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years.
When did it start to turn? When you got success?
Yeah, it was when I beat Demian Maia, because he had just lost to Demian Maia the fight before. So right when I beat Demian Maia, that's when he was like, oh, this motherfucker, he's not my training partner anymore. This is my friend. He's my competitor, and we're going to have to fight and cross paths. And I remember he said in an interview, he's like, before we ever like talked about it, he's like, yo, I'd fight my own mother for money. And I'm like,
were you guys still living together?
No. At this point, I went back to the gym, and I was like, I want to dedicate my whole life to MMA. I'm going to live in the gym in a dorm, and it's not a comfortable lifestyle, but I'm going to get uncomfortable. I'm going to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, and this is going to help me out in the long run in my fight career. So
when you hear him say this, what are you thinking?
I was just like, dude, we had a plan, dude. We talked about it for years when we were living together. He's like, yo, we might have to fight one day, and if it happens, then we'll set aside our friendship, we'll fight, and we'll be friends afterwards. Let's make money together, you know? And so I always thought, like, hey, we're going to make money together. We can sell this and, like, make it a big fight and show animosity, you know, build it up, sell it, this and that, and then be friends afterwards. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't separate his ego and, like, his friendship and losing the fight and then being able to be cool with me. Like he has an ego, and he's not a good person, and he showed his true colors in the moment that, you know, everything we talked about, he couldn't let that aside.
Do you think that in the fight, when you're taking him down and you're controlling him in the way that because I mean you controlled him the entire time, he's now going in his mind like, God dang, this is the kid that I actually took and I was training with, because the training partner, hey, they say ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. You know, there ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun.
Yeah.
When they realize that, there's a almost like an exhale of like, God dang. Did you feel that in the fight with him? Where it was almost like he didn't quite give up, but he kind of accepted, I can't beat Colby anymore.
Yeah.
Were you able to feel that?
I was, but dude, he did the best he ever did on that night. I mean, he usually always got finished by me in the gym.
Really?
Yeah, I'd get him out, I'd submit him. It was just, I'd play with him. I remember I'd touch him in the forehead when I was in mount and just play with him because he couldn't stop my takedowns.
But he was actually defending on the ground in that fight.
No, yeah, dude, that's the best he's ever fared against me in competition and practice and anything. He had the perfect night that night to not get finished, because that's the best he's ever done. So, like, I feel like he felt accomplished. Like, yo, I put up the best fight I could have put up against Colby. Like, all these years training, he used to dominate me, finish me, submit me easy, and make me look bad. And, you know, he was somewhat competitive. You know, he got beat 5 rounds. He got 50-43 in a soda, but, you know, he was somewhat competitive.
Colby, times have kind of changed a little bit now, right? Things aren't necessarily going in the way that Colby Covington expects him to go, right? With the Joaquin Buckley fight and those fights. Like, what's your mindset right now at the state of your career? Because you're in a different stage, right? This is not normal to you. You lost that fight very early in your career with the guillotine. That was kind of like, whatever. But like the last couple, it's like you're in a bit of a different spot right now. Like, where's your mindset in regards to your career?
You know, my mindset is, I did everything I set out to do. You know, I said I wanted to be a world champion. I promised my mom when I was a little kid, Mom, I want to be the best in the world. Like, at the time it was wrestling, but like once I shifted my mind to fighting when I was in high school and college, it was always going to be the best fighter in the world. So I was able to achieve that, and I've been able to create generational wealth myself with good investments, good, business strategy, and I just want fun, exciting fights now. I want the big fights that get me make me want to get up at 6 a.m. and go train hard. So, the last fight, like I told the UFC and Hunter, I said, dude, I'm super busy on the campaign trail. Like, I'm not going to be ready to fight this year. Like, let me fight in the middle of next year. Like, so like, okay, we understand. But then when his opponent pulled out, they called me. They're like, hey, this fight's happening in 2 weeks. We really need you. Like, it's in Tampa, right up the road from you. Can you do us a favor? So I was like, you know what, dude? I haven't trained in like a couple months. I'm on the campaign trail. I'm in New York with Trump. I'm in South Carolina, all these swing states, trying to win the election because that's more important than my fight career is to take back our country and have freedom back. But they told me we weren't going to fight till next year, and then they needed me to do a favor, and I'm just like I'm a company man. I love this company more than anything. This company has given me opportunities I never thought would have been possible. And I thank the company every day for everything they've done for me. But I wasn't ready for the last fight, so I just. After that fight, I just said, hey, man, just give me a full camp. I don't want to I'm at the later stage of my career. I shouldn't have to show up on 2 weeks' notice, cut all the weight I had to cut first off. I couldn't even perform. They had me cut, I was 200 pounds. I had to cut 30 pounds on 2 weeks' notice. So it was already hard enough to make weight, but then go perform. That was impossible. Like they put me in a uneven playing field. And I wasn't even training because I was on the campaign trail for 3-4 months. So, I went into that blindsided because I'm like, this guy's a bum. He's not going to do anything to me. So, I don't know. My mindset now is just I want big, important fights that add to the legacy. Otherwise, I just want to stay busy in RAF. I like wrestling. It's my first love, We'd love to have you in RAF if it's ever possible. I'd love to see you against maybe one of the Olympic champs of your time because I thought you were the best wrestler on the planet, at your time. Seriously, I saw you wrestle at Oakgrove State. I was like, that guy's special. He's going to be an Olympic champ. If it wasn't for you cutting all that weight, 100% you would have been an Olympic champ. We all know it in America.
Yeah, thank you, Colby. You're the man.
You're the man.
So just chasing belts, that's good. You want big fights. One thing you just said to me, it's very important. You're on the campaign trail. You are an avid supporter of the president. He goes to your fights. He shows support to you. Yeah. We get the UFC fight card at the White House, right? And it seems like if there is anyone that is going to be on that fight card, it's going to be Colby Covington, right? Like you said, they needed a favor, you did it. 2 weeks notice, older in your career, doesn't matter. I will show up. How disappointed are you that you're not fighting at the White House?
At first, I was very disappointed and frustrated just because, I know how much it meant to my parents. Like, my parents wanted that opportunity so bad, and, like, they were talking about it every day. You're going to get on the White House. You're going to have this big fight. Maybe it's going to be Conor. Maybe it's going to be a Diaz. Maybe it's just going to be another big fight, and I know you fight anybody. So it was really important to them. So, like, when it first didn't happen, it was like frustrating, like more for them, and like it was kind of rubbing off on me. So I was kind of getting mad. But now that I look back on it, I'm not disappointed at all, bro. I've been to the White House many times, 4 or 5 times. On election night, I delivered my belt there to 1,600 in the Oval Office. So it's like to fight at the White House. It's a great opportunity for someone who's never been to the White House. But I've been to the White House so many times. I go to the Winter White House at Mar-a-Lago every other weekend. So looking at it now from the perspective, it is what it is. It's the UFC's call. It's their decision. Hunter didn't need me. He said, it's going to be a short card. We don't have any available fights for you, so I'm sorry. I thought when they were holding me out for that fight, and I thought I was going to get the fight on the White House, but they had other plans, and they didn't give me the opportunity. So I trust the UFC and Hunter Campbell's decision and his business plans. He knows how to run a company. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. They know what they're doing, so they didn't need me. So what can I do? It is what it is, right?
Bo Nichols said you got offered a fight against him at the White House. Is this true?
It's fake news, DC.
Really?
Go ask Hunter right now. Go ask him if he asked. Yeah, swear to God. Go ask Hunter Campbell right now if he offered me both for the White House. I would have taken that fight in a second. The guy's not a fighter. He's a competitor. He's not a fighter. He gets hit, a little adversity. He quit before he even got kneed. He's never even been in a high-level ranking fight. The guy's a bum, and he's not even in my weight class. He's in a middleweight weight class. Why would I go to middleweight? I'm a welterweight. I never fought at middleweight. So it's just the fight never got offered.
I saw that. I was watching that, and I saw Bo said
the guy's a liar.
Bo said that they offered you the fight, and you just said no.
And that's why he's bozo, because he's not a real person. Be genuine, dude. Like, dude, at least say truthful stuff. Like, you can literally go ask Hunter right now, and he'll tell you 100% that fight was not offered or ever on the table for the White House. I told him I would have fought anybody at the White House. We could have fought Bo. We could have fought Jon Jones at heavyweight. I don't care anybody. I just wanted that opportunity.
You were roommates with Jon Jones?
Yeah, we were roommates.
Like actual living together?
Actually, bunk bed, dude. I had to put him on the top bunk bed because I used to sleepwalk, so I didn't want to fall off the top bunk. So
really?
I went on the bottom bunk. He went on the top bunk. Yeah, at Iowa Central.
Did you dislike Jon as much as you portrayed that, like, even in college?
Well, it wasn't until like my last year in college when he started doing testosterone because he wanted to beef up from 197 to heavyweight. So his plan was like, hey, let's just start doing a bunch of testosterone to get strength and get bigger. And that's when his mood swings just started going all over the place. He started yelling at me for little shit. Like I'd have my shoes like up front by the door. What the fuck, Colby? Why you shoes by the door? I almost tripped out. Like freaking out, making a big deal out of something.
Colby, you're lying.
I wish I was lying.
This is chaos.
I wish it was.
I'm actually
bro.
talking to chaos now.
No, I'm being real, bro. That's the honest truth, bro. And he was screaming about dishes. He even brought that back in an Insta post a couple years ago. Yeah, I made Colby do he would freak out about little shit that didn't matter just because he was having mood swings from all the chemicals and the steroids he was putting in his body. That's facts.
Really?
No one can dispute that. Dude, he failed 2 or 3 steroid tests. The guy's a cheater, bro. Like, he was doing it in college because he wanted to bulk up to heavyweight. He didn't want to go 197 anymore.
Did you see him the other day with that guy in the car?
Yeah.
What was that? Was that old?
I don't know. I mean, it looked like it was new, and the guy was, like, taping him. He just went up to him, like, with his hand in his pocket.
The UFC right now is getting a lot of flack on the White House card, talking about it's not the card that people thought it was going to be. What do you think of that fight card? What do you make of Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje? Because at the end of the day, we have an American guy fighting in the main event at the White House.
Yeah. I mean, I think the fans have spoken, like the UFC, I love them, and, they always got great plans, but, they promised 6 or 7 title fights for President Trump.
No, the president promised that.
Oh, president.
The president said they're going to have 8 title fights. And I was kind of thinking to myself, like, wait, I think we only have 7 champions. Yeah. So, like, is the rest of the year canceled?
Yeah.
The president goes, we got 7 title fights. I'm like, I think there's only 7 male weight classes.
Yeah. I mean, it's the celebration of the 250th birthday of the greatest country on God's green earth,
Yes, it is.
America. And, you'd think that there'd be more American fighters on it from top to bottom. You'd think that there'd maybe be some favorable matchups for the American, but to send Gaethje out there to get slaughtered, I mean, Topuria is the best fighter on the planet right now. No one can, I think, dispute that. I mean, he's knocking,
good. He's very
the way
good.
He's just finishing these guys, Holloway, Volkanovski, and Oliveira. He's just on another level right now. He's in his prime, and Gaethje's on his way down, and there's no, beating Father Time. Mm-hmm. So, I just feel like they could have put more Americans in bigger fights, and they didn't put the best American fighters on the card. They put Gaethje. He's a good American fighter for sure, but there's other great American fighters. I'm happy Sean O'Malley's on there. He's going to put on a good show for sure. But Michael Chandler, 41, 42-year-old Michael Chandler. He's a punching bag.
And that kid's good too. Rufy's good.
Yeah. So another guy, he's getting sent to slaughter on our birthday for America.
Yeah, he's good. Colby, before I let you go, I have 2 things. I always finish my interviews with, is it raining out there?
No.
Oh.
Why?
You don't hear that? I thought I heard rain hitting on the top of the roof.
Oh, yeah.
I got 2 things. One, I want to ask you one thing real fast. Okay. This is kind of like my beef, but I want to ask you about it. What do you make of the whole Nate Diaz? Because Nate Diaz was actually trying to fight me again the other day. He hates me for some reason.
Bro, he's not trying to fight. You kill him.
He was mad at me for no reason.
Let him be mad,
He
bro.
He said to me, he did call me a bitch again. He's constantly calling me a bitch.
Yeah.
But he said, I can't fight, I can only wrestle. If I can't fight, what does Nate Diaz do?
Dude, bro, Nate has no idea what he's talking about. He's so delusional, bro, in his thinking. He smoked too much weed where he's got a chemical imbalance in his head. Everybody knows you're the natty goat. If there's a goat discussion, you're the natural goat. Like, all the other guys that are above you are only guys that did steroids and abused chemicals. So everybody knows you're the best of all time. And he's just jealous that he didn't reach the level of success that you did. How many title defenses you had? Dude, you were knocking dudes out left and right. Dude,
Maybe he comes back and you fight him for me?
I would love to.
Could you handle that for me, Colby?
Oh, with my hand tied behind his back, just like you. You could fight him with no hands tied behind your back and still beat him.
You're so crazy.
He's such a bum, the Stockton soy boy.
Oh my God.
Such a soy boy, bro. Eating soy, voting for Gavin Newsom out in California.
You're so crazy, man. All right, Colby. Before I let you go, man, when this thing's all said and done, right? Like when the book is closed and you're off doing your business. Actually, you know what? Wait. As I mentioned your business, Real American Beer, Real American Freestyle Wrestling. The great Hulk Hogan was a very an originator of this product.
Yeah.
You are now part owner in this company.
Yep.
Like, how do you continue to expand your portfolio?
It's just like the saying goes, your network is your net worth. And I have a very good network, and I've made some good connections through my career and through like the brand that I was able to create in the UFC. So, I thank God every day for, crossing paths with Hulk Hogan, because he gave me this opportunity to invest in this beer, Real American Beer, and carry on his legacy, a legacy of a great American, a fearless patriot, and a guy that was a fighter in his own right, and a great fighter in that. So, it's a 200% American company, and it's brewed right here in the U.S., and for all the people out there that don't drink beer, the great thing, this is Real American Beer Zero. So, like, if you don't drink beer, gives you that same feeling like you're drinking beer, but you're still having a good social hour with your friends that want to drink beer. So, I'm very thankful for Real American Beer. God bless them. And then, of course, Real American Freestyle, bro. This is a great league. It's up and coming. We have a great private equity firm that's funding it. It's on Fox Nation, so Fox Nation is
doing really. I've heard some of the numbers behind. Off the record, I heard it's doing insanely good.
They said it's the top show on Fox Nation right now, so it's doing great. So if you ever want to come wrestle for us, let me know. I invested in them as well, so we'd love to get you over there. Maybe we can
wear
do
a singlet no more, man. I'm so fat. I would never put a singlet on.
We'll get you the two-piece. We'll get you the two-piece.
Unless they give me one of those things that squeeze around your stomach to put it in, I can't go in those singlets looking like that, man. I want a belt. I want like a whatever those waist cinchers what Kim Kardashian wears. Those waist cinchers.
We know you can still dump someone on their head.
I can still wrestle a little bit, Colby. I know I can, Colby.
Till the day you die.
They told me that the Hulk actually, when you fought in Tampa, he was carrying the flag. They said the Hulk was told to go out in front. He said, "No way, brother. I'm gonna stand behind him because I'm with him tonight." Is that a true story? Because I don't know what to believe from Chael most times.
Yeah.
They said told the Hulk, go out first. He goes, "Oh no, Colby, I'm with you tonight." And he walked behind you carrying the flag.
That's true. True story. I wanted him to go out because that was his city, Tampa, Florida. Everybody knows he was the king of Tampa. He lived there and, did all his business there. So I wanted him to walk out front in the arena to, grace him. I knew he wanted to walk out to an electric arena again. And, he was praying for me backstage, like, Colby, I wish I was in your shoes and I was doing this tonight, selling out this arena and getting everybody excited. But, I'm excited I can walk with you to that arena tonight and walk to the cage. And, I wanted him to walk out there, but he wouldn't do it. He's like, "Nope, Colby, this is your show tonight. I'm not going to be the center of attention in the face. I want you to be the face. I'll walk right beside you, though." And the reason people always ask, like, why was he bringing the flag? They don't know that, like, he was a little bit so injured, like some surgeries. Like, he needed that to walk down, like, 'cause he couldn't walk and, like, he was hurting. So it was like the fact that he sucked it up to walk out. I'm so grateful for him. And, I'll always be thankful for the Hulk, man. God rest his soul.
Yeah, that's a rough career to make you living. Tough. All right, Colby, I'll let you go on this one. When it's all said and done, chapter's closed, book is closed, what do you want people to remember about Colby Covington?
I just want people to remember me as just a fearless guy who, took the road less traveled, and it's okay to take that road. You don't always have to take the conventional route. You can take the long way route, but just to be remembered as, someone fearless, and he lived life on his own terms.
Well, you're set up for some success now and later. Congratulations. Guys, Colby Covington will at some point make a return to the octagon, and when he does, know that the show will follow him as it has over the course of his entire career. We want to thank Colby for joining us. Until next time, like and subscribe. Tell your friends to tell their friends. I'm checking in with people like Colby Covington, who, by the way, still has one of the biggest videos on my YouTube channel in history. We did one in New York City, like 500,000 or 600,000 views. Damn. Very, very good. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Until next time, guys. Peace.